Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I am your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. I also have a couple closed roadie groups on Facebook, one called The Backstage Pass, another one called Death by Loadout. With me this evening is my dear, good friend, Kyle Thomas. How you doing, buddy?
Great, man. Another day, another dog biscuit.
I feel like we got a really good show this evening. We got a guy that's been pivotal, and many of the people that have actually been on this show, bringing them up in their career, helping them out, like schooling them. He's an old school pro, and it should be a lot of fun. What's new with you this week?
Man, I just want to thank Alan Kraft for last week's show. Absolutely amazing. It was lovely getting to meet him and chat about his experiences, especially afterwards, because he stuck around for quite a while. We'd love having a conversation with him over that.
He's a dear friend. You know, he was in before, and we spent a bunch of time with him, and it's always good to get to catch up with him. Me and him shadowed our career, and George, we were really kind of circling each other for.
Yeah, it seemed like you were juggling with each other
back in the days, and he's just a treat. He was always one of the best guitar techs I'd ever seen. He had a magic about him. He had a way of flipping out guitars, you know, when a thing was happening. It was like the guitarist wasn't even phased. I explain this to you, but he's very good at what he does. And he's done so many things, you know, promoting and mixing and studio work. He's just, really great guy. It was wonderful having him in.
Yeah, it was such a nice time chatting with him. He's such a nice dude, so it's like, it's hard
stuff.
not to really like him, man.
I can't imagine. We won't bring anybody here and you wouldn't like, buddy. We want to make sure we always got to get the Kyle Thomas approval on the guest. And so, you know, I don't just bring him in here to annoy you. I want you to dig him and be down and enjoy the stories and stuff. Dude, I got to say, like, you know how your peripheral vision works, right? And I wear the glasses, obviously, and I'm fully.
You talking about Mikey? Mikey's mascot?
This dude is so in my business right now. I can't help it. I'm looking over you, and he's just all up in my shit.
Yeah,
he really is cute, though.
Job.
This whole what we call him, Diva Puss. he's rolling pretty hard right now, rocking the Energy Dome from Josh Hager. That's pretty fucking cool, and I know we've sent a picture out with Mikey wearing this on his head, but my brother got this, George Edwards got this for Mikey because we call him the Octopus. As you guys know all the story, we're not going to go into it, but cute little bastard, huh?
Yeah,
he is sitting on something that would, to be fair, Scotty Chavez from Shockwave and My Heavy Memory, the bass player, full badass metal dude, made us this crazy thing that's just under here. And it's just, we brought together two iconic stage props that we have here that we love very much. So really, if you think about it, Josh Hager, George Edwards, Scott Chaney.
Pretty legend.
All three of these things were given to this show by very cool people, and it was very sweet of them. And we've compiled them together. So look at us go. I hope you enjoy it.
And I don't know if you've seen the Josh Hager show, but that Devo hat, you talked about, you know, dropping it as a kid and breaking it, and he was nice. Josh was nice enough to send that to you.
He's such a great guy. We've been chatting and stuff, and he sent a batch of stickers and stuff, but what he really is like a crazy talented musician. Yeah. He has that Garvey J thing he does. Like, check it out. Like, it's one of those one-man things.
Oh, I have to.
And it's nuts, man. Like, he's kind of a little bit ahead of his time. He's a very creative guy and extremely talented he can play, you know, boards and guitars and basses and he can do it well. And so for him to come on the show and share time with us, it was a lot of fun. He's a great guy, and they got some gigs coming up, I think, on May 18th and Pier 17 at the Rooftop. And Devo, one of the best live shows in the business. So I would highly suggest you, if you can, and you're in New York, go see friggin' Devo. They're going to tear the place apart.
Definitely. You got the Vince approval. You got to go see the show.
They really are like an extraordinarily good live band. Like seriously, like Devo really bring a show.
Well, I also just went down to Monterey, was working with Lauren Monroe and Rick Allen, the Def Leppard, just did a little music video. We're getting ready to go out on the road for a little week-long tour on the East Coast, starting in Miami and working our way up to Philly and D.C., I think, is our last stop. So it should be fun. Very exciting, very cool. I would, just being selfish and greedy, would like to know, and I'll reach out directly if I got to, if we can play that video on this show, or at least a clip of it. I'd love to see whatever you guys created together. I bet it's pretty neat. Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
I just said neat.
Yeah, he's never said neat. That was interesting. I overlooked it. You brought it up.
I know. It's like, because I was shocked myself. Like, what the hell?
Vince Edwards. It's pretty neat, guys.
Yeah, neato. Yeah, it's not normal talk. I am trying to curb the cussing, and so I hope. But I don't want to fall back to a place of words like neat, though. So I got some in between ground.
Well,
I gotta
it's
work
pretty
on.
neat that Sound Image right now is hiring some new light guys and touring staff right now. So maybe the Nito is appropriate instead of the fuck you.
Yeah, yeah. We are looking for some new employees. We are always in the business of associating ourselves with talented people. Work is coming. We're going to be big, busy, and we've taken on a whole bunch of new lighting, as you know, a lot of new gear in the production house here. My brother, he's always driving the mission forward, trying to have more stuff to do bigger shows and take care of our customers. So yes, anybody out there looking that's qualified to sign on to check out, do some lighting work with us, or frankly audio or touring positions, please go to the internet and push in Sound Image, and you'll find an ad for where to go and to send us some applications, because we are certainly always looking for qualified people.
That's right, man.
Yes.
And I just want to bring up Party Like a Rock Star podcast with Joel Madrid. I've been really enjoying it.
Okay, I forgot to say that me and my brother sat right here, I want to say a couple weeks ago. I don't remember exactly, maybe 3 weeks ago. And George sat over there and I sat here. And we did a podcast with him, with Joel Madrid, our good friend. And he's a character, he fancies himself a little bit of a Shecky Green, a little Henny Youngman action. I think he has to take his wife like 4 times. So that happened.
Jesus.
And it's an old, take my wife, please. It's an old Henny Youngman, is like an old style comedian. My point is, we did that show with him, and I haven't actually watched it all the way through yet. I'm going to, because my good friend Joel Madrid made that, and it was cool having us on, and we want to thank him. But I'm pretty sure I chatted my way through it. Like, pretty sure my brother got up from the set and thought, what the hell was I even doing here? So I got to be more careful. But we had a great time, and I appreciate my brother going on that show with me, and for Joel Madrid having it. You might want to check his little podcast out. I think he just did something with Gunther. I don't know. He usually has rock stars on it. It's a show called Party Like a Rock Star. And for some reason or other, he thought we were a good match, and we came on and schooled him in the old ways.
Oh, dude, it's cool. It's very similar to this one, but I like the Zoom location of it,
Well, see, that's what I think is different about what we're doing. I mean, if you can look at us in the confidence monitors over there, we're on a set, and I come from the old school, man, the Dave Letterman and the Johnny Carson and so on. And so this is kind of makes sense, Yeah. I struggle after a while watching the different podcasts over and over, and everybody is doing this, and they've got their wall behind them, and a Kiss poster or something. And so it seems like they could put a little more effort into it, but maybe I'm just me.
Well, valid. Shit, you guys, we do put a lot of time and effort into this production value, and hopefully it's appreciated.
Oh, it's funny, just coincidental to that. We have been getting a lot of comments about the moving lights on the speakers, and of course, give credit to our dear good friend and lighting god, Alan Pettibone of Primus and Incubus fame. He does that for us, and we really appreciate it. And we're still honoring the whole thing with, sadly, I wish we didn't have to, but the Ukrainian deal. Of course, there's nastiness in the world, and bad things are happening, and people are suffering for what appears to be no good reason. And the little that we can do, as well as minding our footprint and being somewhat responsible, is to stand with Ukraine and their fight for freedom and peace in their world. And I'm happy to, come on.
Couldn't agree more.
It's ridiculous. So Alan threw up the nice blue and yellow lights to help to recognize the statehood that is Ukraine as a country, a freestanding independent nation, as it has been for 74 years. And, maybe things could turn around over there with good thoughts and well wishes.
Yeah, and we'll keep the lights up for a while.
They're not coming down until that shit's over, and I can do this show forever. Don't play with me. I'll do another 100
What
episodes.
number are we on, 90 something?
I honestly don't know. That's a great question, brother. This is a great.
I should have came to this show knowing that this is my moment, and I fucked it up.
The funny thing is, no, of course not. The funny thing is, so I know, like, the last time I knew a number, I think it was 92. Me and Mikey had decided, but that is sans like 6 episodes, and so I don't know if I want to include, because those were fun episodes to do, not so good to watch. There was technical problems. They were the early ones, and these were like badasses, you know, Scoville and Brad Maddox and Greg Price, like all just hard hitters, but we were like idiots, and it didn't turn out well, so we like threw them in the can. But so technically, I'm sure we've done over 100 shows, but what's actually available is a different number, and I think it's 94.5, something like that right now. I honestly don't know, but we need to sort out what the 100th one is, so maybe we can do something
95. Yeah, we're gonna have to have a 100th episode.
Do we want to agree that it's the available shows that is the actual account?
Let's ask Mike.
Mikey? Okay,
All right.
It makes sense, right? Because
Available.
Right, so we'll say available shows. We'll find out by next week what we've got going on. And next week we got a crazy guest, Brad Divins from like everybody. You know, Jane's Edition, Motley Crue. I mean, the list is Bob Seger. I mean, he's a friggin' legend. And so we've been very lucky in the guests lately. Matter of fact, that reminds me, I have a really great one. Do we got anything else to catch up on?
Oh, that's it, Bubba.
Excuse me. It's lovely to see you. Don't sweat the small stuff. You know, and sometimes like that thing about we were talking about, like a little breath in there, it just makes things better, clears out the air. So you don't worry, your future is bright, buddy. You got good things coming up. I know we're gonna hopefully maybe next week share a secret about where you're going soon to go off and do some magical, wonderful music making. So we'll save that for the next show. But
appreciate it.
I appreciate it. It's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Always, man.
Let's see what's up with our guest.
You got another gold nugget for the audience.
Dude, I think we're killing it once again. I'm gonna So this gentleman, yes, I agree with you totally. I'm really excited that he's here. This guy is tricky to nail down because his career's been like a career should be, and it has evolved over time and has touched many lives, has been with extraordinary bands and done really incredible things, and it's evolved with the industry. This industry didn't always have lead in it, for example. We didn't always, like we mentioned John Rigney before, you know, the production and bringing the video, the visual elements to it, that took time. But of course, one of the things that's always been in the mix since we started flying, things are going big, was the rigging. And then this guy came up hard in the rigging school, and you know, it's one of those crazy guys that goes to the top of things and, you know, waves and shit, and you're like, what is wrong with that guy? Is he crazy? He's gonna die up there. He's brave, and he's been through a million things. He's worked his way from rigging, and he took those skills into, as video developed, and brought it into the world, which is really a huge part of any big show. And of course, he does the big shows with the likes of Snoop Dogg, Shakira, Wiz Khalifa, Usher, Madonna. I mean, they want to get it done right, and they want to have the big show and have the pretty pictures. They bring him out. It is the one and only Aaron Simnacher. Mr. Simnacher, how are you, sir?
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I really, really appreciate you coming in. You're a dear friend of this area. First of all, I can't state that enough. You know, a lot of the people that I've had on this show have a direct tie-in to you bringing him into the fold, and we've had some really, Marty Kell, Bobby Powers, these are guys that have really went on to do big things and good things in the business. Bobby's Metallica and many other things. Marty's over there killing it as production manager. I mean, and you've just touched a lot of lives. You came in tonight with one of my favorite people and just the biggest bear I know, and Mr. John Del Rio. Yeah, and he's sitting right over there with a little baby audience. We got kicking it. You actually got an audience. You got a little fanfare, and so we really appreciate you coming in and sharing your time with us and your stories. And let's just get right to it. And I got a lot of stuff to ask you, buddy. You've had a very complete career. You've done this for a minute, and I want to get to a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to try to ask you if we could be succinct about this, because I want to understand the idea of coming into a thing, especially something that is really a trusted industry. We don't fuck around when excuse my language, when it comes to rigging. You know, when it comes to trusting those people that do that very important work. How did you get how did you know that you were a guy that was comfortable with rigging, that you understood the math, you understood the language? What was the process? Did you have mentors?
Yeah, I had some of the best mentors for sure. I think it went all the way back to as a 12-year-old in Germany going rock climbing with my dad, you know, and just learning rock climbing with ropes and nuts and, you know, tools and whatnot. Years later, I was living in San Francisco right out of high school, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I landed a job as a steeplejack climbing on Grace Cathedral, installing the clock on the South Tower of Grace Cathedral, doing a bunch of nixolite and pigeon proofing and whatnot.
Sure.
So I was always climbing and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I went and spent a month in Yosemite. I met a guy in the Shoreline, in the Kirkwood parking lot, who worked as a Bill Graham stagehand. So I came down to Shoreline, started working as a stagehand, and right away wanted to know, what's going on up there.
Yeah.
And that's really how I got started doing that, just because I had a rock climbing background and was interested in anything up at heights, and it was adventurous and exciting. But mentors, gosh, I could list so many of them. Chung Kuo was actually probably one of the first people that said, hey, you got a rope and a harness, get up there. We need guys up there. And it was, from there, it was Fred White, Howard and Terry Campbell out of 134 San Jose. Clark Scott was a big influence.
No shit. Well, let's not jump. Let's slow up a little. You mentioned Freddie White. Now, Fred is, I was on the phone with him last week or something. And, he's busy, and he's Fred White, and he's crazy as hell. Like those kind of names. Fred's went on to do really big things. He puts on the big shows. You ever surprised how many really talented people have went on to have big careers out of, the formation of the time then when you came in and you started?
Sure. Fred was a prime example of that, because about the time I came in, I think Fred kind of almost in a weird way handed me the reins to rigging at Shoreline. He dropped out of there, and then I started in, and I just started meeting other stagehands, and Bob Powers was a prime example.
Yeah.
Just some stagehand who came from across the country,
right,
showed up, and he was at my venue one day, and we hit it off talking drums and rock and roll. And I said, I do the rigging stuff up there, and we're looking for people. He was interested, and I basically said, you know how to tie a bowline in a clove? And he could, and was confident, and there he was, and one of the star pupils. I mean, I can't say enough about that guy. Just slayed it.
He's one of the most.
Didn't come anywhere near to where that guy reached.
No, he lives it. He breathes it.
Yeah.
He sat right there, and the intensity of the man. I'll tell you this: we had him on in the 20th show, something like that. And he had saw Robert Scoville. I mean, legends, absolute fucking legends.
Yeah.
And Greg Price and these crazy dudes, and the numbers they had. And he got competitive about how many views people had. And I swear to God, just by the force of will, he drove up his numbers past 650, 700. It was awesome to watch.
That's great.
Bob don't play, man. He was he is such a driven, serious cat.
Yep.
Super fun.
All my time traveling across the country, knowing head riggers around the country. When I mentioned I'm from this area, or sometimes I ask, was Bob just in here with the show? They always speak the highest of him. It's just great to see where
fearless, but genius too. Not impetuous or silly.
Oh, exactly.
He takes that stuff so seriously.
Just so level-headed for the most part.
That's the guy.
Just great.
I've always just thought incredible. I know you like to have fun out there. We're going to run around into a bunch of the different bands we just mentioned and some of the stuff you just mentioned. But I know you sent me this picture, and it's just fun. And I wanted to show the kids the Silver Surfer picture. Did you rig yourself off in Silver Surfer? What was going on? What was happening in that picture?
That was another Fred White influence thing.
Oh, man.
I used to work at Kirkwood Ski Resort in the wintertime and Shoreline and shows in the Bay Area in the summertime. And I got a call from Fred White just before New Year's and said, hey, I got this show, Joe Satriani, New Year's Eve at the San Jose Event Center. Would you want to come down and rig it? And I was like, yeah, but I know there's other riggers that could use the work, but I love Joe Satriani. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Sure. And he goes, well, it's also got a performance gag with it. And I was like, what? I'd never heard of a performance gag. I was kind of new, still in 92.
Sure.
And he said, well, Joe wants the Silver Surfer to come in from the roof at New Year's Eve. And I was like, wow, this sounds interesting. What's that all about? And he goes, well,
cool.
You ride a snowboard, and your buddy Dave Levinson has a snowboard shop in San Francisco. I figured and you're a rigger, you could put something together and be this guy. And, it pays a little extra cash. Are you interested? And I was like, sure. So I came down a couple days earlier, went to the snowboard shop that my buddy Dave Levinson owned in San Francisco, and we took a huge snowboard, wrapped it in tinfoil and clear tape, and I spray painted a pair of shorts silver. I had a silver chest harness. I took a Chouinard Bod climbing harness, painted it silver carabiners, whatnot.
Sure.
And we hung a 64-foot per minute chain motor. I think it was a 1/4 ton inverted in the San Jose Event Center. And I hooked into this thing. Howard and Terry Campbell were the riggers there. And Joe came in and we rehearsed it at 4 o'clock in the afternoon before the doors 4 times, got it all figured out. And at New Year's Eve, the whole show went black, about 5 minutes before. Yeah. There was a long pause. I got all ready up there. They during the darkness, they filled up the ceiling with 2 DF-50 foggers were up there. So this huge cloud obscured the grid beams. And then 2 5K or 4K, maybe 2K lights came on, these white, bright lights. And I came spinning out of the cloud on this chain hoist, landed on the stage, took off the snowboard, flipped it up like a guitar, and rocked out next to Joe as he went into Surfing with the Alien.
No shit. That was their big song, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. It was one of the best moments of my career. I was just asked to do this gag.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Were you spinning? Was it a controlled spin? Was this intentional?
It was. The first time I did it, I realized I needed to go fast and I needed to hold
like
up
pull
into a tight
and have
ball
a certain
and then slowly,
figure skater almost how they do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Slow down. And after the 4th try, Joe and I were both like, "We got it. Looks good. Good enough."
Yeah, we showed some pictures of it. It's a cool look.
Oh, I'm just so bummed we never got video footage of it.
It was the time, man. I'm surprised you got the photos of it.
Yeah,
so you did
believe
good.
That was the New Year's of '92.
That's very cool. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. That's really cool. You mentioned that you worked at Shoreline with Mr. McFadden. Stevie's been on the show. We adore Steve McFadden. Talk about a guy that really kills it. I would say the Bay Area is his outright. He kind of owns it.
Sure.
He's the man who, I'll never not see him as anything but chief, like boss. What was it like working with Steve?
Steve was great. The only time I ever got fired, believe it or not, was Steve McFadden. Yeah. I really enjoyed working with him. He was a great boss to me. A tough man to work for a lot of people, but he was straightforward with me all the time. I was running a trust spot at a George Michael 3-day run right before a Grateful Dead three-day run at Shoreline, and I was a very overconfident young spot op. And towards the end of the show, I dropped a cigarette. We'll call it a cigarette.
Sure.
Because that's what it looked like.
You did fine. I'm with you.
And it was right during the final blackout of the show, and it was very obvious. And I came down out of the spot just totally like, oh, I'm fired. It's done. You can't do things like that in this business and survive. And sure enough, somebody came up to me and said, hey, you need to go see Steve McFadden at front of house. And I ran out to front of house. I still had my harness on, and there he was with the production manager and the lighting crew chief, lighting director or whatnot for George Michael's. And they were standing there like this, and he asked me, did I do that? And I said, yeah, that was me. I'm done.
That's the right answer.
And he said, fine, you're fired. And they were just glaring at me, and I turned and walked away. I thought, yeah, that's it. You blew it. And he yelled, Eric, from about 20 feet away. He said, don't call me. I'll call you. And I thought, wow,
Steve, that was a little unnecessary, buddy.
There. Yeah, I thought, okay,
come on now.
I'm done.
McFadden he's very good at what he does, and he takes it seriously.
Yeah.
And I don't know how old you were at the time, but I'm sure he thought there was a lesson in there. He was learning you. I know. Yeah. I did Oak Ridge Boys one time. It was, you do those kind of, at least when I wasn't a dedicated guy, they just needed, it's the Oak Ridge Boys. There's like a shitload of them up there. And we were at some big fair thing. And I had no clue what I was doing, but I was being as cocky as you. And I'm like on this table, and there's like 4 of us, and we're shooting these torpedoes, and they're calling cues, and I'm getting the wrong cue every time, and I got the middle dude.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I learned a lesson.
It was one of the funniest nights of my life.
Yeah.
I fully didn't take it seriously at that time, but, and totally got fired too. Yeah. But I was cracking up.
They did the second night and the third night of George Michael's, and they loaded out. And originally, I thought, if I don't get called for the loadout, I'm done.
Yeah.
So 10:45, the last night of the George Michael show, right after loadout, all the hands had showed up at 10:30. Yeah. I get a phone call, and I just knew this was the phone call. And I picked it up, and it was Steve, and he said, so you've blown all your trust with me. You got to start from square one again. show up tomorrow for Grateful Dead rigging load in at 6 a.m.
That's
and
awesome.
that was my chance back in. Yeah.
That's so good. See, Steve, I told you, that's Steve's way, man. He's serious, and he knows when there's like a pearl in there. He just had to,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, get the kink out.
he had to
yeah.
put a little smack on you.
Right.
Because that is what they pay him for.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. I
So
totally look at it as a good lesson.
I'm with it. I get it totally. Tell me about this thing with Pete Barsotti. You know, the Barsottis, I don't know if you're kind of outside our area, you maybe not understand the Barsottis' dharma and all, you know, even Jackie Carcetti or Joaquin Barsotti, you know, like the whole linkage there. But talk to us about, well, I guess it was your first tour you were out with Horde. Did the Horde tour, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Explain that. I know you had some Sheryl Crow thing. You had, like, give us a minute with that.
Oh, the Horde Festival was really what made me realize I wanted to tour in this industry. I'd worked as a stagehand for 5 years.
Yeah.
I wanted to tour. I wasn't really seeking a tour or whatnot. I didn't really even know if I was ready. Like, what position do I want to do on tour?
Yeah.
And
You were making mostly doing union or venue stuff at the time.
exactly. I was doing a combination of both. Yeah, I was a permit worker for 134, but still mostly doing Bill Graham Presents.
Sure.
And well, I guess we were SFX by that point. Yeah, but yeah, it was mostly Shoreline and then Northern California shows. But Nigel James and Peter Barsotti came to me one day and said, "We'd like you to hang soft goods on the Horde Festival." I didn't know much about it, but I knew there was this festival tour, and I liked working festivals at that time quite a bit.
Yeah.
And hanging soft goods, I'm all about that, man. I really enjoyed hanging soft goods. I was one of the few like production riggers that, oh, you got trick line and tons of soft goods to hang? I'll do
cool
it,
with
no
that.
problem. I was totally cool with that, and I just wanted to do a really good job of it. I always took it really serious. And
This is like Jesse Battle. Jesse Battle's like that. He gets all fucking like Zen-like with it.
Yeah.
And they come out perfect.
Yeah.
And then you see the other guys are doing the other fucking wing or whatever, and it's just horrifying.
Yeah. So I was the perfect
That is,
guy
you're
for
a
that.
rare
Yeah,
animal,
I
dude.
really,
You're like a
I really
unicorn.
enjoyed it. But right away, we did rehearsals in Cuyahoga Falls, Blossom Music, that beautiful wooden amphitheater.
Yeah.
And the head rigger was this really great electrician, Earl, from BML Lighting, who had been with the Allman Brothers for a long time. So he was more like the electrician, head lighting guy, crew chief, that took over the rigging because he'd been doing it for 30 years by then at least.
Sure.
And he saw me and went, "Hey, you're that kid from Shoreline that I always like coming there, man. You're always really nice and friendly, and you get the points up really fast. And why aren't you doing the rigging on this?" And I'm like, "Well, they asked me to do the soft goods. I got all these soft goods to hang, and then I got to go up on the concourse and do the soft goods on these towers and whatnot." And he's like, "Fuck that. You're going to do the rigging." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah." And we went into the production office, and he told him, "You know,
You're not being using a resource
I'm going to
well.
mentor this guy.
Yeah.
But you're going to pay him."
Yeah.
So just like that, I got $1,000 more a week.
Wow.
And I had this old man who knew how to deal with union guys, and he showed me the ropes.
That's the
but
thing.
basically, you know, he would act like the head rigger. We'd mark out the points in the morning, and then he would tell the guys, "This is the guy who's doing it. I'm going over to electrics." Have a nice
Perfect.
time. So it was great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. The Sheryl Crow story is a hilarious one. She was one of the opening acts on that tour, and when she played,
Early days.
she put her yellow lab, just put his leash around the door on the mirror while she played. She had a short set,
30 minutes,
45 minutes, something like
sure, yeah.
But I was like, I just took it off and, took him for a little walk or one time. Then it turned into again and again. And I met her one time at the bus and told her, just taking your dog for a walk. I'm one of the guys on the tour. She was okay with it and whatnot. Well, a couple shows later, I took him for a walk, and it was at this outdoor place where there was a river and a water park. Yellow lab got in the water. He got totally soaking wet. And I toweled him off as best I could when I got him back, and I put him on the thing. And I didn't know that they had to take a bus ride right after the show for a few hours to go do another show or a radio show or something like that. So the next day, I get a call on the radio to come into production office, and I'm like, oh, because I never get called to production. And she's in there finishing her story about, who is this guy? He's taking my dog,
The dog
can
napper.
he be responsible for my dog? And I just showed up like at the tail end of this conversation where she's, giving the guys grief about, me leaving the dog wet. And Nigel, I loved it. Nigel just looks at her and goes, "Miss Crow, this is Eric Simnacher. Eric Simnacher is the rigger responsible for the 36,000 pounds of lighting and audio that hang over your head every day. I'm sure he'll be okay with your dog." And she was really apologetic and whatnot.
That
It
is a
worked out
really
okay.
great.
Now, really bizarre, 20 years later,
Yeah.
I finish a tour and I'm hanging out in Miami, South Beach for a couple days. Not really my scene, but I'm chaperoning someone who wanted to visit there from Australia. Keep
Okay.
making sure they don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
So we're at this super high-end bar one night where you got to pay like $200 to get in. You get a bottle of champagne or something. Very much not my scene.
Sure.
I go out to the little hookah hut area and I'm hanging out
Yeah.
in this little rattan chair and whatnot, and up walks Sheryl Crow and 3 of her friends, and I recognized her right away. And they just said, do you mind if we sit here? And I said, no, me and Sheryl go way back. And
She's like,
she pulled down her sunglasses and went, oh my God, she instantly recognized
she
me.
knew you were the dog guy?
Knew I was the dog guy.
Yeah.
And tells her friend, oh, this guy, oh my, let me tell you, this guy. And went into
clipped
the
my
story
dog
of,
a
oh,
few
this guy got my dog wet. I was so pissed off. My band.
She
gave
remembered
me
it
a-
that well?
Oh, she remembered it exactly.
Oh, dude, she was collecting stamps on you, man.
Oh, it
She
was hilarious.
she had that in the pocket.
Yeah. She had just
You left a mark.
Recently, she had become single from Lance Armstrong, and
Oh, right. I forgot they were a team, weren't they? During
Yeah.
his naughty boy time when
Yeah.
he was Mr. I didn't do anything. I'm
Yeah.
a good boy.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a bonehead, that one. All right. Good story. That's funny. We all have like these weird little things. I don't think people understand tour, especially when you get into a touring festival situation.
Sure.
That's a very unique animal.
Sure.
And yeah, there can be little interesting moments because you're doing full day shows. This thing's rocking from 2 in the afternoon till midnight,
Yeah.
and all kinds of good and fun and
Yep.
yeah, interesting stuff. I know. I think people, understand we're in the Bay Area, and we certainly support this. And then we have radiated out into larger careers, many of us, and some have come back because we love this area and we support the regional scene, and have done both sides of that. And everybody in this building could speak to that. I know, as you know, we have some bands that are kind of from this area. We'll say like the Metallica types, the Journeys, the Santana. And I know you were involved in a pivotal moment in Metallica's life, and were asked to go on a drive to handle some business, to deal with some gear. Talk about it.
Oh, I spent 3 years. I took a little bit of a hiatus from doing rock and roll production. I was still working for the local in 134 in San Jose a little bit.
Yeah, I see. 134.
Tiny bit of Live Nation work, I think, still not very much. But I started working for Rocket Cargo. And it started as a side job, and it turned into like this full-time thing, and I really loved it. And I was driving the vans and the trucks to all of the different studios and Industrial Light and Magic and all these really cool places. And I get a call to pack up all of Jason Newsted's bass guitars. He's quit Metallica.
It's perfect Metallica at the time.
And take all of his Ampeg stuff and all of his bass guitars to his house in Walnut Creek. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was just catching news that he had decided to leave Metallica. So I packed up all of Jason's gear, put it in this van, drove it over to his house. I'd never been there before. I'd been to a lot of the guys' houses for other things, but not to his house yet. So here I am, the first time delivering all of his guitars to him. And he kind of told me the whole story. I'm not going to get it in too much, but
we don't do that here.
It was kind of sad, a sad moment. And then I had to go pick up some gear that was coming up from L.A. And it was Robert Trujillo's bass guitars from Ozzy Osbourne, who had been touring with just prior to that. Right. So those I received at the airport, threw them across the scale, put them in a truck, and delivered those to Metallica's headquarters up in San Rafael at that time. But yeah, I had quite a few different bizarre interactions with Metallica during a weird time when Jason had left the band. James was kind of disappeared for a while. Yet they were still trying to do things that the Presidio and a film crew was following them around.
That was weird. You're talking about the filming of Some Kind of Monster.
That's right.
And that doctor dude, I would love to just spend an hour on that, but we will never do that because that was trotted out in that. It was personal and weird and tough. And, to their credit, and I think we both, because this is a band, this is a 40-year band. I remember seeing these guys in 82 at the fucking Stone.
Me too.
So, so I get this. They've come through it to the other side, and it's really hard to do that in something like this. It's a business. This is big. These guys do huge rock shows. They're probably the biggest in the world. And that's a huge concern. and strong personalities, and they've come back around to it. But they're out there as we speak. We just had Greg Price in here, their front of house guy, yesterday, right in this building, and his office is right over there, and he's just getting ready to go do their European thing.
Yeah,
and
great.
you know, I think you've had that. It's 40 years, and you're still crushing it like that.
Yeah,
and you know, flying their shows, being a rigger on a Metallica show, that's like you're the king dong. That's the big show.
Quite a few gags.
And they really bring it hard. So to their credit, they've come through a lot, and we get to see stuff. That's what they pay us for. You know, I always feel like once we take the money and we walk out, and whatever we saw back there, and that was an implicit agreement that some stuff we keep to it. We tell each other, and we talk about it, but there's a place where we have respect for their privacy and things. So a great band, and they've come through a lot, and they're still killing it to their credit.
Another side note to that little Rocket Cargo, I did Rocket Cargo for about 3 years before I got back into touring and production full time. There was a point where Frank Munoz, a very close member of the Metallica camp, and an old Bill Graham stagehand and runner, production assistant guy, but he's way tight with Metallica. He called me and said, "Hey, we need some guys to help Lars. He wants stagehands. He knows you guys are these trusted, these people." So I thought, a couple of weekends of moving Lars. It was almost 4 months.
Wow.
And it was almost 5 days a week.
Wow.
And we made a ton of money under the table, moving him from one home in Marin to another home 12 miles away.
Yeah, he's done well for himself.
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
A friend of mine sent me a thing. I don't know if this is, it was from Polestar, so it's public information, but they do for 46,800 people on average, over 32 shows, they do $4.58 million per show in just ticket sales. Yeah. So these guys work their asses off, but they've perfected the system where they really know how to. I mean, they are printing money because they got you could go to a Metallica show, watch 2 hours, and know virtually every song. Sure. That's 25 songs they can bring to you that are like basically heavy metal pop songs. It's an extraordinary thing.
And
it's a hell of an achievement.
They still have the record for they spend more on their fans than any band in history. They spend more money on their fans.
You're usually looking at $1 million. That's out there. And as a guy who flies in and does the video, and we'll get to that in a second. But you know what I mean? You know what these costs are. This is not cheap to bring those big walls. This is not cheap to do pyro. There's a lot that goes into it. So they may make this big chunk, but they also get back into that show. That was what you see. And it's clear that you're seeing that. You're seeing that money. And you see a shot there in the round. That's theater in the round with Metallica. I mean, in the round is a hard show to pull off. You know this. And they do it somehow. They are able to do it and make it intimate and bring the big effects. And so it's Metallica are extraordinary band. And their team, their production team in particular, is very good at what they do. And so to their credit. We talk about Metallica and we talk about these different things, but there's many sides to our business, I think, people that don't always understand that, like this production house, we do these huge weddings. We do these huge corporate things that only the people in that corporation that day get to see this big-ass band in this big setting. And, of course, we do stuff like sporting events, traveling shows, Disney on Ice, Stars on Ice. Now, I know my brother as well was a member of Stars on Ice from the audio side of things. Tell us about working with Stars on Ice. And I know you were out on this. These are huge people. I don't know if people understand this, but this is a big deal. This is a big production with full-on, it's a full-on show. And this happens, they do just like any other tour, churn it out place after place, living close, working hard, and sometimes bad shit can happen. Stars on Ice, talk to us about it.
Stars on Ice was... my name was dropped to rig that tour by Alan Harrow, who was a booking agent. He's booked stagehands, and he did production management work for Bill Graham Presents at Shoreline for a number of years. And he was the wardrobe guy on Stars on Ice. Dave Hoffus, Tom Howard, some other people were looking for a rigger. My name got dropped. And I signed up and flew out to Lake Placid and started rehearsals in this Olympic venue in Lake Placid.
Yeah, Lake Placid, New York.
I really only knew Alan. I didn't know anybody else on the crew. I met a real small crew. It was like one audio guy, two or three lighting people, a wardrobe, a stage manager, myself as the rigger / carpenter. And that was about it. Maybe a merchandiser or two, and then the skaters. So it felt like family right away.
That's a pretty intimate tour.
Yeah, and we started rehearsals for 2 weeks, and I think we were about 3 or 4 days into rehearsals, and I was just starting to know the skaters because I had flown the rig, and then I had a little bit of carpentry thing with this tunnel where the skaters came on and off the ice. So I had a lot of downtime, but I was just there at the venue, checking out the show and learning the skaters and whatnot. And one morning I came in really early, and there was a pair, Katerina Gordieva and Sergei Grinkov, 2 Russian silver medalists in 2 different Olympics, rehearsing in a rehearsal rink right next door. And I heard a blood-curdling scream, and ran over, and there was Sergei laying on his back on the ice, and I just thought, oh, he took a fall and knocked his head. He'll be okay and whatnot, but something about him wasn't right. So I started assessing him, and right that time, Frenchie, a lighting guy, came up, and he realized something wasn't right, and Katya was just losing her mind. So we started doing CPR on him, and we got nothing. And eventually, Katya went and called 911. The paramedics showed up, and they took him away. He had died of a massive heart attack. He had a bad heart valve that failed on him. Just happened to be that day while they were doing this one lift. So they told us there was nothing anyone could have done for him. You know, it was a heart defect they never located when he was younger. But that was a really rough start to my tour with Stars on Ice, but it just brought us really close together because as unfortunate as his death in rehearsals was, we just continued on and finished rehearsals and took off on a 6-month tour that went across the country, every ice house, hockey arena in North America, including Canada. When we finished Stars on Ice in the United States, we went over to Canada and did 2 months back and forth across Canada on Skate the Nation and Skate Canada, where I got to meet a whole bunch of other skaters from Canada I'd never met
these are world-class skaters. Like, this is a massive production with a bunch of choreographed bits with music and lighting and the whole. It's fantastic.
We had Audio 300 had an awesome EAW system out of upstate New York, this small audio company. George, I'm sure, has told you about them. And I loved that package we carried out there. It was in the round little center, and it was a double-tiered 360-degree 2 clusters, some shining up, some headed down, and then I think it was 3 of their big bass bins underneath our amp racks. It was real easy to hang and fly.
Very cool.
I always thought that was the most impactful small rig I had ever seen in an arena.
Did everything, and you loved it from a rigging standpoint, which is that is art and design coming together right there, man. When the rigger's happy and it sounds good, that's like.
It was all straight trusses, Morpheus gear here out of the Bay Area as well.
Morpheus lighting.
Really good people out on that. Mimi English, Todd Ricci, got a bunch of good people. Troy Garcia had been out on that. Squidfin Cannon. He started his tour with his touring career, I think, with Morpheus on that tour. That was a great time. Small, tight knit. That's what I really liked about it. The camaraderie. We became like family right away.
It's very special.
Regardless of the fact that one of our performers fell ill and passed away on the ice in rehearsals. That tour really, we bonded well, and I did 2 years in a row with that tour, and finished it with a gymnastics tour after the Atlanta Games. I did a 1997 tour of gymnastics with the same Stars on Ice crew, production crew. So that was nice to keep the same crew together on 3 successive tours in a row.
Oh man, I bet you guys
fantastic.
Were like a friggin' Swiss watch.
Yeah, you feel kind of spoiled when you do that, when you do several different tours in a row with the same crews. You just know, like, oh, you're building these great friendships and relationships, but
you're gonna break up.
Yeah, if you're not working with a camp or something, it's just a roll of the dice. But I love that.
Well, it is part of the nomad existence.
Yeah,
there's another family waiting for you.
Yeah,
that's
right.
You absolutely know. Well, let's talk about it. We were talking about Marty, and I'm not sure at what point, because I mentioned in the intro. And this is what I love. You check off so many boxes, let alone you're a great guy, but your skills are varied and you've evolved in this business. I'm not sure if it was with the Wiggles, but we got to talk about the Wiggles. The Wiggles is a big deal. What do they call you, E-Wig? Like you've had many nicknames through the years, depending on where you're working for. The Wiggles were a big big deal.
Yeah.
This was an international phenomenon. This was for centered at young people. But again, another segment of our business that I don't think is widely understood. There's millions of dollars on the table here, folks, is what we're talking about. And there's a lot of little people to make happy. This thing did that. Is this where you brought your career together, where the video and the rigging started to meld together? Talk to me about that.
That's correct. Marty Kell, I was
great guy.
I was working as a snowcat driver at Kirkwood in the wintertime, and Marty Kell was a coworker. He was wearing the Horde Festival shirt or something I was, and he said, oh, I went to that show, and I said, oh, I did the whole tour, and that's how it started. He was like, what? He just said, I want to get into concert production. So I basically kind of just gave him Alan Harrow, another weird connection, phone number, and said, call this guy at Shoreline, tell him you know me, and you'll get working. Well, he got in, and then he kind of took, Marty was just one of those guys. He took off. He just did his thing.
You like gave it.
He became a rigger.
Put the wheels under his feet, and then he just started
he was
going.
off on. And that means like next thing I knew, he's off on the Stones doing
Marty's
the Stones
a
World
badass.
Tour, and he'd done like merch and everything.
Yeah. And I think you told the story of that you helped him come in on this very show. Because that meant that much to him.
Yep.
You know?
But we always stayed pretty tight. And out of the blue, I knew he was doing the Wiggles for Screenworks with my friend Doki, my best friend Doki.
Yeah, good old Doki.
And I was like, man, these guys, I don't get it. They're not really kid people, but they're doing this kid show. It must be fun. Yeah. I hadn't been touring for a few years, and Marty said, hey, you want to do the Wiggles? And I was like, what do you mean, do I want to do the Wiggles? Yeah. No, I got a position for you on the Wiggles. I think you'd be perfect for it. And I said, what? What is it? Yeah. He said, side screens, couple projectors, front of house camera, throw some cable out, run camera. And I was like, Marty, I don't do video. And he goes, no, I think I'll teach you. I'm going to be the director. I was like, okay. So my first tour with Screenworks and my first tour doing video was when Marty Kell asked me to go do the Wiggles. And he was the video director, and it was crazy. I couldn't believe how much fun it was. I'm not a kid guy. I've never had kids. I got nieces, and I love them and stuff. But I'm just, they're dangerous little things. You know, I'm just not a kid person. But I fell in love with other people's kids on the Wiggles show. Yeah, that's cool. Just like I couldn't believe how fun that tour was. And I did 3 tours with Screenworks with the Wiggles, kind of at their peak. 2005, 6, around that area. Like
they were big. Like I can't explain this enough. They were Barney big. Like they took over for Barney, I think.
Yeah. They really did. They were huge. And the ticket sales started to fall off. So about 3 tours later, they said, hey, we're going to cut video. You know, we love you guys. We hate to do this. We're going to cut video. Sure. And, I was like, I get it, So they're like, all right. And it was like a week before the end of the tour. And I was, what a bummer. This has been a good 3 tours in a row, and I've learned a lot about video. Okay. Yeah. So the next day, the Red Wiggle, Murray, the guitar player, he says, hey, Eric, you got a minute? I was like, what? I felt like I was in trouble because I wasn't that close with these guys. And he wanted me to come in the dressing room. Yeah. And he said, hey, Jake is our guy on this, and, we're not going to have video after this, but we're going to need a new rigger. Jake, meaning Jake Berry, had been an advisor to the Wiggles. When he took Barney to Australia, that's how he kind of got in with that camp.
That makes sense.
So he said, we're going to need a new rigger, and we were asking Jake about that, and he said, I should ask you because you've been rigging for a long time. And he goes, oh yeah, I'll do some rigging. So as Screenworks went away and lost the account because they cut video, ticket sales were falling off. The Wiggles rehired me as the rigger, and I became the rigger / second carp. And I did another 6 tours, and I toured with the Wiggles for almost 4 years, doing all of their North American tours, and it was an absolute blast. I can't believe how much fun I had on a kids show.
Was it more like, was the food better, the hours better, everything more civilized in the sense of the touring life? You know what I'm saying?
You hit one point for sure. The hours were better. We loaded in early, but kids shows don't go to 11:30 at night, right? So you have
and I can't imagine you're going that big either.
Yeah, and we often have two shows a day, and sometimes it was 3 shows a day. Wow. And these guys, they were smart. They had been doing this for quite a while before I came in. They got to the point where the carpentry department was basically 3 hampers, and you dump out an inflatable and plug it in. There's your set. Push the little castle pieces together. Put a ladder inside so Captain Feathersword can climb up inside and swing out the ladder. And there was some cool rope gags and stuff I did with that tour, rigging wise and whatnot, but that was really neat, is that there wasn't a lot of work to do. And you were on the bus by usually 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
kind of civilized.
Which it led to quite a bit of partying, I'll tell you that,
Oh, I
because you
imagine
had
all that time.
that much more time.
Yeah, of course.
Some people went, and, if we didn't have to get to the next town right away, you could go to a bar for a while before the bus call had to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely led to more bus time. We'd roll in, early, get the thing up, go hang out on the bus for a little while, or just, cruise around town or whatnot, then do a couple matinee shows, and you'd still feel like, oh, that was a quick, easy day. It was definitely felt like that. Yeah.
No, it sounds like. So I've had a similar experience, and it was with Barney, where it was actually kind of. And at the time, I had like a 3-year-old kid who really loved Barney, so I understood Barney because I was kind of forced to, like, it was in my world, and I got a very similar experience, and it kind of shook me a little bit because like I have no natural love for small humans either. But it was great to see them all those big smiling faces and see all that magic work in there, and see the whole show come together for the kids like that.
It's magical. It made me,
and it was
a new appreciation for little kids and just parents in general.
And I remember it the same way. It was really easy. It was really straightforward work. And so. Again, part of our business. It's it's not all Madonna and big rock shows.
And it was the first tours I had done at as a front of house camera guy. So after the show, as the crowd were streaming out, all the parents are thanking you profusely. Everyone's
cool.
going by going, "Oh, it looks so great, thanks so much." Unusual,
I've had that out front or even from the side stage, doing monitors or being a guitar tech, which is really my milieu. Remember back in the day, because we're old enough, there was a time when there was a friggin' gang of people over there, depending on the band. If it was Devo, it was dudes. If it was Motley Crue, it was girls. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, that was a real thing. Now that's kind of gone, and there was, and they'd always be real friendly to you because they thought somehow maybe you could help them out.
Yeah.
Get further in the camp. Sure. And seldom did we do that after a period of time.
I never knew there was a thing, Wiggles groupies. I mean, really?
Are you serious?
Well, you have to think about it. A little kid.
Oh, those guys. Okay, yeah, right. My mind's all wrong. I thought horrible stuff.
No kid brings himself to a Wiggles show, so there's always a mom, a big sister, an aunt, or something.
Yeah,
and then when it's the mom, the kid has usually watched the Wiggles on TV quite a bit, just sitting there while she's in the house.
A lot.
They see what's going on, and I found this later that sometimes the moms become infatuated with some of the guys in the band, one of the guys. So when the tickets on sale coming to Oakland, oh yeah, they want to go.
Dude, that totally checks out. That makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Okay, that does. And that's the difference between them and Barney and Baby Bop.
Yeah.
Because that was just styrofoam people.
Oh, yeah.
And they're actual real people.
And sometimes we meet people, we would learn about people in the audience, like, look at that lady.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a kid. She's not, she's way
she's
beyond, she's way too old.
37th show.
And, exactly. And she's a rocket scientist at Jet Propulsion Laboratories that makes millions a year, but she's infatuated with the guitar player.
Yeah, that's funny. No, Rush had that a lot because they had to get over the figure because they would see their fans over and over and over, right? And they're a bunch of rich nerds,
Yeah.
And, NASA guys and shit, like you said, it's the same thing. And it took a while for them to get comfortable with the fact that they weren't going to hurt them, They didn't know they were just being stalked relentlessly, tour after tour.
Yeah.
The same dudes. It's funny to me. I hate to keep driving you down memory lane, but you've done this so long. You've been around a couple unfortunate moments. So I think we got some photos of it. Can you recall well, that's a stupid way to put it because you're not going to be able to forget the A.R. Ryman stage collapse situation. I would think that was what.
2010.
Yeah, was that the Jai-Ho tour or something like that?
Jai-Ho tour, yeah, it was. That was another incredible experience. I really enjoyed that tour immensely. It was A.R. Rahman is this hugely popular Bollywood composer. He composes music for Indian films, but he's massive. And he did a tour in 2010, Jai-Ho. It was an incredible show. Every night was 3 hours long, and it was just so different and all this rich culture, and it was very colorful.
And,
really
I can totally imagine it Indian
visually and musically. It was a very dynamic show. And we were setting up this in the Pontiac, Michigan Silverdome. It's no longer there, but it's a air roof, meaning you can't hang anything off the grid. You have to build a self-supporting stage structure inside. So we rolled in, and it didn't look all that great. I wasn't the tour rigger. I was just the LED video guy, camera guy. But I got together with Lee Tomlin and our other rigger out of Las Vegas and the stage manager, and we all talked about it. But the guys from the stage company said, nope, it's been engineered, 76,000 pounds, 5-to-1 safety ratios, you'll be fine. We decided to trim back anyways. It didn't look right. There was just something about it. So we trimmed back. I only hung 6,000 pound of an 8,000 pound video wall. Lighting trimmed back a little bit. Audio, I think, was fine because they were out on the wings, whatnot. Everything goes up to trim. I go out to front of house to build my camera, and I'm just standing up on my camera and making sure I'm dead center to the stage. And I yell down, or excuse me, I asked the stagehand to carefully hand me the camera tripod up so I could start building the camera. And right at that moment, it just all came in. It took about 3 seconds, and it was incredible.
Huge
there was
collapse.
20 people.
This is not some bullshit.
Yeah, they were just finishing band gear. And there was 20 people on stage, and what I saw as this thing crashed in, because I couldn't look away. I watched it crash in. I thought, 10 guys probably died. 6 to 8 people are probably dead, because there were 20 people on stage. There's no way they could get off stage in time.
It looked at life-altering, life-threatening.
Yeah. It was.
It's a massive collapse.
One of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
What was the actual numbers? What was the actual outcome?
I had to take a second and turn away and just go like that, because I knew people were dead.
It hurt you,
But
like
I needed to run and start
hurt,
doing CPR and wrapping tourniquets, trying to do something for somebody who's maybe not quite dead yet.
Yeah.
And I ran to the stage while everyone else was running away, and there were no bodies, and there was no blood, and there was no bones sticking out. There was nobody yelling and screaming. There was a couple people yelling, but I couldn't fathom that no one's dead, and there aren't many dead bodies. And so I kept running around the stage, and the riggers were there. People that weren't on the stage who had their facilities to run into this war zone were saying to each other, there's no dead bodies. There's no dead bodies. We kept saying that over and over because there had to be dead bodies. This collapse was so massive and so quick, and there were so many people on the stage, but they had the wit and wherewithal to run as quickly as they could. And the most serious injury, I believe, was the audio crew chief leaping off as fast as he could run of a 4-foot, 5-foot high stage. His knee gave out, and he had ACL reconstructive surgery. It's pretty bad. A drum tech, I think, just cowered as it crushed in on him, and a truss broke his collarbone, shoulder injury, ankle injury. There was a couple cuts and bruises and a couple of broken bones, but nothing life-threatening, and nobody's really screaming in pain. The audio guy was in some pretty serious pain, but everybody was like, "I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Go help the people that need the help." And it was like, that's all there is. There was basically 2 injuries, minor.
I think sometimes we forget that what we do is we work with heavy shit. We work with high voltage. Yeah. We sometimes are working with fire. Yeah. So we're bringing pretty much all the tricks to the bag that are known to cause problems if not handled right. And so, it's sad to hear that, and at the same time, really remarkable. And that no more people weren't hurt. Also to point out that the Bollywood thing, there's a large Indian population in this country. Yeah. This is a country of 1.1 billion people. Bollywood is bigger than Hollywood is.
Oh, huge.
They make 600 movies a year compared to maybe 150 movies in America.
That's right.
That is a massive machine. Yeah. And it's like K-pop. When K-pop comes around, we got to take we empty the building to put on one show for them. Is like, it's extraordinary, and I don't think people understand. There's this other lane comes through town once in a while, and it goes big, and it goes real big.
Everything was destroyed, and they had the wherewithal and the money to get a whole new lighting system, everything. They rebuilt everything, and we took it back out a month and a half later and did the tour. Oh, shit. That happened only 6 shows into the tour, and we brought it back out and did 19 more nationwide shows. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad more people weren't hurt in that. You guys landed well in that. Not no pun intended, but. All right, now we're up against time, and I'm going to ask you one thing, because my good friend John Del Rio asked me, that's where we're at. We just landed right at his question, which is kind of perfect. But I might do a speed round on you, okay? Sure. Just to get your impression of a couple of the acts you're out with. Yes. Okay, so we can blow through this. We talked about analytics and all that. Madonna, when we talk about serious, true pop stars, serious, full on, I'm going to say it, rock star. Yeah. Okay, in the pure sense of the word. You don't get much bigger than friggin' Madonna, dude.
It's true.
She brings it. She brings it every time. Talk about somebody who puts money into the whole process, the production, the dance work, the choreography, all of it.
Oh yeah.
The costume changes. I mean, what's it like being out with? Well, I guess. Okay, so we're talking about Madonna, but let me ask you John's specific question.
Yes.
You did world tour with Madonna. He wants me to ask you about going through the police checkpoint in Colombia with Madonna on the Madonna tour.
That was bizarre. Live Nation booked one of the first big stadium acts in Medellin in a long time. Medellin was just thought to be a dangerous city because the cartel cocaine gangsters shoot each other up. So part of the gig was the promoter in Medellin had to provide ample security.
What like time frame are we talking about?
2012.
Okay, so even then it was still considered a no-go zone.
Yeah, well, lots of tours had gone to Bogota and some to Cartagena, mostly to Bogota, but Medellin was not a big concert site, especially for a show this size. And so they had these super elite, God, they were like special forces guys. They looked like black berets. They were wearing black commando
probably
gear.
Military.
And they had like they had machine guns. I'd never seen machine guns like that. I mean, like in a movie, maybe, And they were the Israeli TAR-21s, composite, world's lightest machine gun. Israel will only sell them to a few countries that they offer. These are elite guns in 2012.
Sure.
So I'm like, I don't want to mess with those guys.
No.
But for security reasons, we had to wear our laminates with our names on it. They had these special laminates. And one of the colonels with this elite security group came over, and I thought I was in trouble. It was so bizarre. He grabbed my laminate and he looked at me really sternly and he goes, Simnacher, Bruce Simnacher. Do you know Bruce Simnacher? And I was like, that's my dad's name.
Bruce Simnacher. This guy knew.
Yeah, this guy knew my dad's name.
Medellin, Colombia,
and
doing a Madonna show.
Yeah.
And a colonel from the Special Forces of Colombia. Yeah. Which is a deadly bad man to make it to the colonel spot. You understand what I just said?
Sure.
Do you understand what you have to do to become a colonel in the Colombian fucking Special Forces?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So,
like heads and shit come off people's bodies to get there.
This guy killed hundreds of narco gangsters.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And this guy's like, hey, dude, I know your pops.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. I said, how do you know my dad? And this was all through a translator. We had a translator right nearby, and the translator was translating for me, and he says, he knows your father who trained him in Fort Bragg, North Carolina in 1968. And I was like, my dad was a trainer at Fort Bragg before it was called School of the Americas and moved to Fort Benning or whatever. Yep. Right? So that's possible. I don't remember him talking about this.
Do you even know like the history you're touching on right now? You do, right?
No.
Okay, the School of Americas is a place that during the 80s and the 70s that we taught. So the Junta in El Salvador, Nicaragua, Colombia. Dude, if there's a bad bunch of dudes that later became the generals that took over the South American, basically the whole of that nation, that was that whole landmass, which is like multiple nations, we trained them in our schools, and your dad was one of the trainers.
My dad actually went down in 1981 to
he was training like bad men to do bad things.
Nicaraguan rebel leader out because he wanted out of the war. Anyway, so I was like, wow, I can't believe it.
Awesome.
So I said to the translator, hey, can you ask him if I could get a picture with him? And at that time, he was kind of pulled over to the other guys going, hey, this kid, his dad was a trainer at Fort Bragg, and I'd recognize the name because my last name's unusual.
Much
and
respect.
I could tell he was telling it, and the guys were all, whoa, they were like totally looking me up and down. I'm like, wow, this is an amazing moment. I gotta get a picture of this. So I handed my phone to the translator. I said, hey, will you ask him if I can take a picture? Because I know maybe we can't. Probably can't, right? But I had to ask. And so he said, oh, photography, in Spanish. And the guy looks at me and looks at this other guy and says, get in there. So this other bigger guy, much younger, comes over and gets right in my face and pulls out this clip and starts taking the rounds out of the magazine and putting them in his big pockets on his fatigues. And I didn't know what's going on. I'm like, but he was just glaring at me. So he takes all of the rounds out. It was like 25 rounds, huge magazine. And then he puts it back in and takes this machine gun off And about right here, I look at the translator and I go, I don't need the machine gun. I just wanted to get a picture. And he goes, I suggest you take the machine gun, my friend.
Yeah.
So I take the machine gun, and that's click the picture, and the machine gun goes right back, and everybody's really nice and gracious. One of the merchandisers, Richard Carter, done a bunch of big tours for the Stones and whatnot from England. He comes running up, and he's screaming, no way, no way. He's freaking out.
Yeah, I believe you just pulled that coup off, that little coup.
Nobody can get a picture with the guys. How did you get a picture? And I said, well, my dad trained him in Fort Bragg, and he, what? But yeah, everyone was trying to get pictures like this. They actually let one of the lighting guys get a picture of him later on, so they kind of relaxed their guard a little bit.
Of course, over time,
but
they start
would
trusting
not
you.
get in a photo. No way, man.
No, it's amazing the small world nature of it and how connected we all are, and the influence America has from our pop culture to our music to our military ways and things, how things just kind of happen in the world. And it's a life of consequences. It's funny, when my dad passed away, all these people came, and I started seeing all these generations of people that I remember from different points. It's funny the lives we touch, and we don't realize it until these weird moments like that. So that's cool, and kind of an honor to your pops. Let me go through this real quick, because I got to ask you like your impressions of a couple of these things. I had smart ass questions like, hey, are there any tricks you employ like as a video guy? We do it all the time with filters and plugins and stuff on audio. Is that something that is there?
Yes, but I don't work in that field. You're right. Yes, notch and different effects, processing effects. Oh, it's getting out of control, and it bothers me sometimes. Actually, for about the last 5 years, it's bothered me, because I'm the LED technician that builds the walls and the panels, and I can tech those pretty good. I'm not a master at that, but I also run a front of house camera. That's what I love doing. I love building the walls. I love running the front of house camera. And when I'm watching the show and there's glitch and static, that I instantly, is that a cable? Is that our problem?
They're
putting it in more and more. They've been doing it for longer than 5 years, but I have done so many tours in the last 5 to 6 years where that's an element of the content. Or we're giving them a perfectly clear, high definition IMAG, image magnification image of the performer, and they're adding treatments, filters is the current term for that. But I used to see it so much, and it used to bother me. Like, I get it. It's what the designers and the tech kids want and stuff. But to me, you're degrading the image.
Yeah, you're a purist, but I get what you're saying. I don't like that when they start breaking out bullhorns or asking the audience to sing and shit. It's like, dude, we're paying you to sing. What the hell?
Yeah. Part of the problem is I'm seeing it every night on the same tour. But sometimes I've seen it overused in one night's performance. Like, wow, that was 7 songs that have the same kind of notch effect that just looks like image degradation, static,
leaning on it too heavy.
I got it.
Yeah, I could see where that would be annoying from a person, from your perspective. So you're working cameras more, and I know John Fukushima is very particular about what he captures and how you use it, or Joe Victoria even more so. Really, kind of John's mentor, and Rolling Stone, and come on. And so I got to ask you real quick, impressions to tour in Europe with Usher.
Oh, that was cool. I got added at the last minute. The video crew and the touring crew had already done North America and maybe even an Asia leg, so they were all well seasoned and warmed up to each other. I was the outsider, but I had a lot of fun on that, and it came kind of out of the blue. And that's one of the things I love about my position in this industry. I'm one of those guys without a wife and kids, or a pet, unfortunately. So I often get the call, hey, can you go to South America tomorrow to fill in for a sick guy on Shakira? Or can you go to Usher next week in Europe? We need a guy. The guy's passport didn't work, or something like that. But I love
That's kind of a sweet spot, though, dude. See, I like that too. I used to have the pets, and I used to have to, and I did a kid thing. And it the right way to say this, I want to say it messed with my career. And it did technically do that. And I had to I wasn't able to always pull the trigger when I wanted to, and other times it was really hard when I was able to, but man, it was a challenge. So I don't know, dude. Like, I've given up pets. I was a big pet guy. I love cats.
I've had to.
And I had this, first of all, I wear too much black. That's just practical reality. And then the other one is, it's like, I've raised kids. I've had pets all my life. I love them. Oh, my God.
Me too.
And now I'm an old man, and it's my turn with my Betty, who I love more than anybody. And they're all raised up, and they got kids and stuff. You know what I mean? And so I think you're in a sweet spot.
Yeah.
where you can. I'm not even mean to be on this topic. I need to get out of this show. But my God, dude, good for you. I love those are called good life choices.
Yeah, I like cats and dogs more
really
than
proud
most
of you
people,
right now.
too. And I like my friends'
They're wonderful.
cats and dogs because
but
they're
play
my
with,
friends,
like go
yeah.
check out your friends' pets and like
Always,
tell them it's all good. It's
always.
like being an uncle.
Absolutely,
I love
totally.
being an uncle.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing.
yeah.
I got great
Absolutely.
little nieces and nephews,
Yep.
and I love to like hang out with them and buy them stuff and
Yeah.
eat dinner and stuff,
Yeah.
and then I
Me
get to
too.
leave, and it's like perfect.
Exactly.
And they're like happy, and I'm happy, and
Yeah.
oh god,
Yeah.
that's so good. All right, these are things. This is a TV show called Things You're Not Supposed to Say. All right, Wiz Khalifa and Fall Out Boy. What's it like being out with him? Mark said that.
Hedrick.
That he wanted to send you some love. Mark
Yes.
loves you like crazy. Mark Hedrick,
Mark
Snoop
Hedrick,
Dogg.
known him a long time. Yeah.
I mean, he's like.
He was great to work with.
you
I
know,
really enjoyed touring with him.
I was talking to him
yeah.
on the phone. I said you were coming on. He was like, "Oh, dude, tell him."
Yeah, Wiz Khalifa.
I love him.
Of course, because I like all things green. That was a great tour.
Yeah.
Really had a fantastic time out there. The first time I did Wiz Khalifa, it was the Boys of Summer, and it was technically what they call a co-headliner tour.
Yeah.
So Fall Out Boy was the other band, and they played second. So you had this really cool Wiz
worked that
Khalifa
out.
crowd that was a lot of fun and upbeat and positive. But during his set, you had these Fall Out Boy people that didn't like that type of music, so they were waiting for their fans to come out. And after Fall Out or Wiz Khalifa played, their fans pretty much left because they mostly didn't want to stick around for Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
And then you had a whole different vibe with the Fall Out Boy fans.
I would think that was a tricky. I mean, I know you went on to do Wiz and Snoop. That's a tour that makes way more sense.
That was
You ain't
really
losing
fun.
half the
Yeah,
audience.
that was really
I mean,
fun.
I give the,
That was
more
even
power to
better.
him. Good try.
Yeah.
Okay, good try.
Yeah. And nothing against Fall Out
No,
Boy.
but, no, this isn't
is a
about
weird
that.
one.
This is
Yeah.
about having two different distinctive sounds.
Yeah.
You were trying to jive them together.
No, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean, I've seen ska and, Reggae work in a show together.
Yeah.
But when you I think that was giving the audience too much credit.
I agree. You're
and
right.
so a Snoop tour with Wiz makes that's a dream
And that
show.
was an old Bill Graham thing. It's like make the opening act somebody you wouldn't normally expect that doesn't always sound like, because now you're introducing people to new types of music.
That was a cool approach in a time when you didn't have as many choices and
right.
you didn't have such a honed divisions in subgenres.
Yeah.
Now there's just straight up lanes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The EDM kids are with the EDM kids.
Sure.
There's a thing going on.
Yeah.
It's not like when in the 70s we were coming up and they were like singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
And then there was rock bands.
Yeah.
And that was what we were working with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. But, more power to him. How'd you like touring Shakira in South America? I mean, talk about a girl with energy.
Yeah.
She brings a fun show.
I thought Madonna noticed every little thing and was nitpicky. Shakira, same way, man. She was really all about the visuals. We had a massive video wall upstage, and if it wasn't tinted just right and shaded, if there was a couple of pixels out here and there, man, she was super critical. And I've never toured with an artist who was that critical about the video wall every day, and you saw it. And it got to the point where I was an add-on for that. They were trying to get me down there for about a week before they got the paperwork rolling, and out I flew, to get down there. But I joined that tour mid-tour and came in, and I could just tell, like, these guys were done with this tour because it had been out for 9 months and they'd been all over the globe. But she was a finger pointer almost every day about the screen, and I don't like it and stuff. But I'm one of those rare guys that loves touring South America. It can be rough on your gear and it can be rough on people, but
it can be rough on your tummy.
Yeah,
it's definitely rough on your gear with the
always had
uneven
a good
power
time.
and the weird challenges with power.
Yeah.
There can be border issues.
Yeah, the language barrier if you don't speak any Spanish. I mean, they speak a lot of English down there.
Man, when the food's good though, it's really good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I do enjoy.
Like we think we understand, South American food. We do not.
Yeah,
that's
true.
The
It's
depth
true.
and breadth of what South American food is insane. Again, well, this has bbeen a great show and a long show. Thank you for being here so long.
You're welcome.
You mentioned that I know you recently killing it with this Sebastian Maniscalco. And now you mentioned to me, like it was kind of like what I just said about the Indian thing, about the country of India and their contribution to entertainment in this world.
Yeah.
And what it actually means when it comes across the border and how absolutely gigantic it is. This is not big. This is huge.
Yeah.
Tell me about this guy. What is it I don't know about this comedian that you've been killing it with recently?
He has sold, almost every show is sold out. He has made a ton of money. He has booked so many shows. He's got I think he's got 2 new world records, and they are the comedian who's made the most money of all time and the comedian who sold the most tickets of all time. Now, you'll have to break me, but I think those are the 2 world records he broke. I had never heard of him when I first started working for him. Never heard the name, didn't follow comedians. And I hope I stay on this tour till I'm 70. This guy is awesome.
Really?
People that don't know me, when I meet them, they go, "What do you do?" I get paid to laugh at my boss. No, really, what do you do? I'm a front of house camera guy for a comedian. I get paid to laugh at my boss. It is a dream tour. I can't believe how fun this tour is.
He's like serious, and this is the guy apparently. Now these are subcultures that we don't know that exist.
Never did
but
comedy
this is
before.
International success, right?
Yeah.
Like he's got
well,
big.
Don't know about international, but he is so big right now.
Here in America, these accomplishments are. He's a modern American comedian. I don't know how I'm this out of touch, dude.
Next week
Seriously,
I go to Canada. We do 3 arena shows: Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto. Totally sold out. Then we go to the New York City area and we hit Barclays, the Garden, the Prudential. We hit all of the big arenas in New York City, and we do Albany, and then we go to Florida to go into a shed, and then we go back to our theaters. And it's usually 2 shows and sometimes 2 nights in a row in all of the greatest theaters in the country. And then occasionally we go to Vegas and Atlantic City and do the really nice casino ballroom theaters. And it's just awesome. It's totally different from rock and roll in that there's not a band that's got to take time off and go back into the studio and write an album. No. This guy just, all of his material just constantly flows and he evolves. Like we're already done. We've already moved out of the holiday season jokes, and you know, pretty soon we're going to have to move out of the COVID jokes. But I love it. It's always changing. So the show's never
the world will keep providing him material to take and riff on.
And he's just such a nice guy, such a great guy.
Make people laugh.
Yeah.
What a great way
very
to
thankful
make
of his
a living,
audience.
you know, and that he does that, and that you get to support it.
I am living the dream once
again.
again.
The people.
Oh man,
I'm stoked for you, man.
Yeah, I am too. Thank you.
That's really great. I appreciate you coming out here and sharing your story.
What a blast. It's been
so
great.
long. It's a treat to have you on the show. John wasn't wrong. And you know, again, in our little sandbox up here in this region, you're kind of a legend, dude. So we super appreciate you coming in.
I'm just a regular dude.
Yeah. But you know, we touch people in our lives, and you've done that with a lot of heads that are like literally have sat in that chair that I respect like crazy, like the Bob Power types, you know, Marty and Johnny over here. And so it's been a treat having you on. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. It's been great. Appreciate having me.
It was a pleasure.
Kyle, good to see you.
Fuck yeah, we're there always.
Thank you.
Right on, Kyle. We did it again. Dude,
he knows and has trained and turned on so many of my friends into the industry. You know, I'm from New Hampshire, and when I moved here, I've generated my little brotherhood, and always high regards, spoken so high of this man.
That's exactly. You know, sometimes we can be a little bit prickly and territorial. And we definitely talk to each other about each other. That is a roadie thing. It just is. And I've never heard a bad word spoken about Eric. And he's always, especially from his rigging days, is like the guy that you wanted to fly your gear, you know, and it come out properly. And Shoreline is such an integral part to any of us that have came up in this region. That place has done a lot of great shows.
It has. It really has.
And there's no way you come in and do Racks and Stacks and not have this guy like make things right and shit. It's just it's a treat. So it was a pleasure having him on. We try to do this for you guys. We love our friends, and we love to share time and these stories and capture them forever and ever. So that's why we're doing this. Next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we got Brad Divins on, dude. Like he's, well, first of all, he's a studio guy that you come in and you capture your stuff, and he kind of also acts as a producing role. He's also an accomplished musician in his own right, but he also happens to be Metallica's guy, Jane's Addiction's guy,
just so
Bob
happens
Seger's
to be
guy. Yeah. He's the guy. He's a sound ninja. He hangs out with Eddie Kaipo. It's totally badass. And a good friend, and he's going to come and tell us his story and how he got to be such a badass. And we're going to do that next Thursday. So come tune in with us. We super appreciate it. We know you got 1,000 things you could do. So when you come out and see us, we think it's special. Have a great week, and we will see you next time. Good night.